Thanks, Neha. Whether it's at school, home, or someplace else, we've all freaked out about something temporarily. Yet for a lot of people, it's not so easy to shake off this sense of panic, as they have a mental illness that's more common than you may think. Please note, most of the footage in the following video has been blurred, so no one seen is associated with any mental illnesses.
It's the most common mental illness in the United States, with approximately 25% of all teenagers suffering symptoms of anxiety. For sophomore Rachel Van Meter, it's a daily struggle that makes her question every detail of her life.
Anxiety is constant doubt and worry and just questioning yourself all the time. A lot of times it's just fear of what others think, and it's not about my image, it's just what I do in everyday life, and I'm scared how it'll affect other people and their response to my actions, even though I don't need to worry about what other people think about what I do. Really what it is, it's an overreaction to a lot of events, and sometimes you just have to calm yourself down and keep telling yourself over and over again, this is not as big a deal as I'm making it out to be.
And while that may be true, anxiety is extremely underdiagnosed in children and teens. This can be because many people experiencing anxiety internalize their fears in social situations and find difficulty in talking to people around them or professionals.
Somewhere like maybe 80% of kids that have an anxiety disorder are not diagnosed. So in young people, they're a lot of times suffering, and especially if they're internalizing it, people aren't noticing. So it has a great effect on just developing into a confident person.
This is partly because a common sign of people with an anxiety disorder is a pattern of avoidance.
A lot of people are going to live a very isolated sort of life, and if a child growing up does this, then they're not learning the typical developmental things you would be learning about how to cope with life and relationships, friendships, things like that.
For teenagers, there can be a multitude of stressors that can contribute to the development of anxiety disorders. From the constant pressure that some students experience with the large workload in AP courses to achieving the ideal GPA and rank.
I think the pressures in school can definitely have an impact on a student's anxiety level, especially if you're at a competitive school, anywhere in Frisco ISD, Liberty High School. There is that level of competition and pressure both at home, students place it on themselves, but that pressure to succeed. And so when you have that pressure and that stress and your plate is just full with tons of AP classes and teams and extracurriculars, that definitely can increase your anxiety level because you might be worrying about all of these things you have to take care of and your future at the same time.
In addition to school life and technology, social media can also be a key factor in teen anxiety.
I don't think it's really trying to compare yourself to other figures in social media in school, but it's definitely trying to not necessarily impress other people, but to make sure you're not hated or disliked by other people, but your anxiety is causing you to feel like you're being disliked.
While school can play a role, many biological factors are credited with the development of an anxiety disorder.
There's still a lot of work being done on genetics, but we do have an idea that you're going to be more likely to get an anxiety disorder if you have a relative, a biological relative, that has an anxiety disorder. You're more likely to get an anxiety disorder if a parent has any kind of mental disorder.
Although there isn't a cure for any mental illness, there are plenty of ways to cope and help an anxiety disorder. A popular form of treatment is cognitive behavior therapy, or CBT. CBT is a broad category for a variety of therapies that take a closer look at a patient's thoughts, feelings, and triggers.
But what that does is it interrupts that whole thought process that makes a person think that the only way that they can avoid anxiety or deal with anxiety is through avoidance or rituals or trying to figure out a way to be safe.
There are many more therapies within CBT, but also a variety of treatments outside cognitive therapy. But an important key to dealing with anxiety can be as simple as taking a walk.
So exercise is another important thing to add on to, say, cognitive behavior therapy and medication therapy, if that's necessary. So getting even just walking for 10 minutes can help. They're definitely finding that doing good conditioning exercise several times a week where you're getting your heart rate up in a conditioning zone can be very helpful.
Many people are scared of getting help and further suppress their feelings. These behaviors can only worsen their anxiety.
Anxiety disorders don't tend to get better by ignoring them, okay? They tend to get worse in time.
Due to only a fraction of the people suffering from anxiety disorders being diagnosed, it's unclear if the numbers have been increasing over recent years. However, many people think they are, as the amount of awareness and websites have increased and Google searches have doubled. For WTV, I'm Isabella Santiago.